right. Oh, I think we're good. Are we live? Okay, seeing, checking. Can anybody see if it's live for them? I think we are. Okay. All right, everybody. Hello. Thanks for coming out to EthVan tonight. We've got a few things going on here. During the week, we've got Mondays. There's now like open mic night. So if you're interested in coming to do some sort of open mic stuff, so if you want to like do poetry or jam session or just speak your mind, there's a open mic night going on. Next week we're going to have a Bitcoin meetup here on Wednesday. So if you're curious about some orange things and want to do some, we're going to be a little more on like the builder and functional side of things. So trying to get a little bit inspired around that stuff. So more of like what we talk about in Ethereum and like actually doing things instead of just like talking about, just hodling and talking about how Michael Saylor is our Lord and Savior. We're going to talk about, try and do some other ideas around with what's possible with Bitcoin and kind of some development and building stuff. So pretty excited about that. And then, we'll see what else we've got. I'm not sure what else we might be doing some stuff here with Polkadot. We'll see. We might have some Polkadot stuff going on here. So yeah, pizza night. Okay. Jose's pretty excited. So we're going to talk more about that. We'll keep everybody posted there. But for tonight here, we're going to get talking about some ZK stuff. It's not like we haven't talked about ZK before in this basement. There's been a few talks about that. Probably one of our like more popular topics, to be quite honest. So we're very fortunate tonight here. We have a couple of individuals from the EF. So I'll let them take it away here on the ZK stuff.
Thanks, Tango. Cool. Welcome everyone. I'm Adrian. I'm going to make a short presentation about just really general about the kind of educational stuff we're doing. Maybe talk a little bit about why we think it's important to do ZK education, and I don't think I have a lot of slides for it, but I think we should also talk about why it's important for Ethereum to have more ZK engineers, ZK developers. Hey guys. I'll make a quick presentation, and then we have one sub. He's going to join, and he's going to swap out, and I'm going to swap out, and he's going to present his stuff. And then we're also going to remind everyone that this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, there's like a 2 full-day workshop where we're going to get into like the nitty-gritty of actually building ZK from like the raw math, starting from like very basic math all the way to like actually having circuits and stuff. So that's going to be cool. I'll remind you guys of that later. But, this is going to be a very high level talk about the kind of things that we've been doing. So here we go. So seeding the ZK Forest, I'm Adrian, of course. I lead a team of 3, me and 2 other guys. One of them is actually on the way here. And then so we just basically do like educational events, like wherever. And the whole idea is that we want to grow the ZK Forest, right? Because as Tango mentioned, it's something that I think there's a lot of interest in, and a lot of people believe will, and I believe as well, like that it'll really change the game in terms of how technology can be used, cryptography can be used to, have people have more like sovereignty over their life, have more privacy, and also scaling, right? To do a lot of different things. But anyway, let's just get into it. It's going to be a couple of different things that we're thinking through, like me and like the team, the 3 of us, right? What is our mission, right? We'll go quickly here. We want to see the next generation of ZK talent to further the Ethereum mission. Pretty vague, I mean, like it's good, but like it's I think everyone knows this. This is pretty straightforward. And also, like specifically, I think the gap for public good is really important. Like for example, we have all these L2s, these ZK rollups and stuff. They hire all these Silicon Valley engineers very easily, right? But what we want to do is we want to actually target like students and early career developers who can't afford to go to like a ZK workshop or things like that. And that's kind of what we do. I mean, personally, I think that's what the foundation should focus on, right? Because if if ZK Sync and all these other L2 scroll, I'm sure they do a lot of hiring things and like, growing like, pay a lot of money to like engineers already. But like, I think a lot of people who are needing the ZK education is people who are like students, they're early in their career, and especially from non-English speaking regions, right? Because, if that's not your main language, it's going to be so much harder for you to dig into a lot of the documentation and things. So that's kind of like the overarching goal that shapes our programs. So we have like basically two big programs. One of them is like this 8-week long program. And it's all open source, by the way, like it's, we just bring a bunch of students together, and apparently like, we've got some pictures here from different locations, but 90% of these people like actually haven't done anything in open source before. So, and by the end of these 8 weeks, they would have learned how to like write ZK circuits and also contribute to some ZK repos online, or make their own, or maybe participate in some hackathons. So I think it's like a really good program to really, I guess it's kind of like a boot camp, but it's free, and it's also targeted towards, I think, people who are really, who need it the most, right? So we've done this in like 3 cities in Asia and 3 cities in Latin America. We'll get into that in a little bit. The other thing, so this is like a quote from one of the people who actually attended it. So he had a chance to participate in a lot of stuff. He actually got a grant afterwards, and then he, did some presentations at DevCon. He spoke at the conferences, worked on L2 projects, and this is someone who decided to, him and like a couple other graduates from our program decided to like start their own ZK study group in Tokyo, which, where there wasn't one before. And now they've been like organizing events that I didn't even know about. Like people were like, "Oh, are you going to this thing?" I'm like, "Oh, wait. Oh, these guys made it. Oh, I know those guys." Like, so I'm really proud of them. Like they've been doing stuff, by themselves, and that's really cool. So ZK Workshop, this is the thing that's going to happen on Saturday and Sunday. Actually, these pictures are from Malaysia, where we collaborated with this the local ZK study group there, and a bunch of like students come out, and we got our markers, whiteboards, and this kind of like builds stuff from scratch. So if like, I would say like university level math, like first year math, I think you can probably like jump into this. So if you haven't registered, actually, like there's still spots for Saturday and Sunday. You can see here like the lecturer is one sub, which is sitting in front of me right now. He's going to talk in a little bit. But yeah, we go through like, if it always like, I think ZK feels like magic to a lot of people, but I think going through the math, it makes it seem a lot more approachable, and it's just really quite interesting. Yeah, like this is more of like why I personally think, like, again, I'm not speaking for the Ethereum Foundation or PSC or anything. I'm speaking for myself and my team. We think it's like a really strategic investment for us to continue doing this stuff and do more of this stuff. Because I think the cost is actually not that high, but like, people who went through our programs, like a lot of them are starting their own like ZK study groups and starting their own like meetups and stuff. And I think that's something like, it's hard to buy with money, right? So anyway, I think this is really high impact and quite cost effective. But like, what does that mean? Like, what is impact, right? So I think a lot of people, especially, in the crypto space or even like in the foundation space, talk about impact, but they don't really like measure it, right? Like decisions are often guided by how things look and how things feel rather than actual data. And, that obviously leaves room for the community to criticize, right? Like, you're spending all this money, what are you actually doing, right? So there are a couple of KPIs that me and my team, again, I'm speaking for me and my team, not the wider EF, that we focus on, is we're starting from a high level: community growth, talent growth, and research impact, right? So for example, how many communities were actually started and are sustaining their activities, right? I don't know if some of you guys might not know, but I also started the Ethereum Vancouver meetup here a few years ago. Although like I've totally stepped back because all these other people are just way better at leading it than I can. But like, it's great that it's a self-sustaining community. Like I have been gone for like months, and I come back and people are still here. You guys are still here, right? So I think that's really important to think about, a self-sustaining community. On a more individual level, like talent-wise, right? Like how many people are actually, now contributing to the community and doing things, right? That's like a more real thing that you can actually measure in terms of like numbers of people that graduated from the programs or that were impacted by our programs. And then specifically, we drill down further, you can actually see what kind of contributions people are making. Maybe like someone started a new library or made some contributions to an existing repo, or maybe they just like organize some events and things like that. That's also a really big impact for the community as well. But anyway, so like here are some of the areas that we're trying to focus on this year going forward. Latin America is big. Jaff on our team, he's based in Costa Rica. He's actually, I think there's a lot of delays in the flights these days, but I think he's on his way to Vancouver. So you'll see him probably on the Saturday and Sunday if you come to the workshop. But he's the one that really like leading charge to expand in Latin America. We're probably trying to put in some new countries this year as well. South Asia, we have India. And maybe other places as well. East Asia, we've got a lot going on there. I think it's just because of like where we had people and how it started. We've been through a bunch of these countries, so we're really trying to think like where can we put our efforts that grow communities. Like because I think sometimes we take for granted that we have this space, Decontrol. We have like this, great people like Tango there working the switches, and everyone else that's also leadership, to create this kind of like community, right? A lot of places, like if you just like crypto, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, if you're just curious about it, there's like no one to go to. There's no like Shelling point, a place to go, right? So I think the more we can do this kind of thing and help other communities around the world do this, I think is definitely a better thing. A positive. Oh, this is just like a couple of numbers in terms of like when we did that 8-week-long program. We had a bunch of people apply and we interviewed them, and there's a number of final participants. You can see in the first year we only did Asia, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and then we added Latin America last year, Argentina, Costa Rica, Ecuador. The idea with this program, by the way, is like we want to get the previous graduates to start running these programs, because like it doesn't make sense for the EF to keep burning money and just like dumping, like we just keep organizing this by ourselves. Like that's not sustainable, right? The idea is to like make these graduates into like the future leaders, and then they can, we've actually seen that with the Tokyo side as well. Like they can actually raise money from their local startups, local communities and other L2s and stuff. And then they started like doing stuff without the EF funding. I think that's the most ideal thing, right? And there's just some graphs because I thought I need to pad the presentation with some graphs, but it's literally the same numbers as this, just with more colors. So we can skip that. Some pictures, yeah. I mean, I kind of put these out before, but it's just wholesome. Vitaliks in one or two of these pictures. Like hopefully we can do more of this stuff. How to be minimalistic. Actually, there was like a, like the EF keeps talking about like we want to subtract ourselves and not let things grow too big. I think they're probably starting to do that now, especially with a lot of the conversations online. So I think for us, I talked about how for us it's like a three people team, and we're probably not gonna really expand. We're not trying to be like a 30-person team. If we can like impact communities with just 3 people, why not keep it 3 people, right? Open budgeting is something that I'm trying to push for. Like if we can kind of like open source like how much money we're spending and where, and like we talked about the KPIs before, it would be kind of cool to see that across the board. Obviously, it really depends on, like there are certain things that where maybe like funding is not very clear, or like maybe it's not, doesn't really make sense to have it open. I'm not sure, but like this is something I think we should work towards, like kind of open sourcing how much we're spending and where, and things like that. Again, this is my views, not the EF's views. So yeah, because I think it gives us transparency, it prevents bloat, and also allows us to like regularly track like the KPIs that we're talking about, actual impact, right? And then I talked about this before as well. Like we want to be sustainable. So ZK Tokyo, for example, they're like independent now. They ran like a 2-night, like they like rented an Airbnb with some money, and then like just like got a bunch of people together and like gave lectures to each other and stuff like that. That was kind of cool. And I didn't know they were planning that. It just kind of like popped up. We're going to try to get Japan and Argentina to run their own 8-week program instead of having us do it. We might give them a small grant and then like guide them to like help them like raise money from other crypto companies that might be interested in sponsoring. Again, right? Like the whole point is like we don't want to be on EF money forever, right? That's definitely not the goal here. And so like having the alumni teach workshops so that, there are people who've gone through the program, they kind of realize and they can kind of tweak it for their local local demands and things like that as well. I mean, I think that's kind of like the gist of it. I'm almost done. I know that it's kind of long. Beyond the EF, like I talk about, the three of us, we can't rely on the EF forever. We want to do more stuff. Ideally, if we can get like kind of, for this funding, educational stuff, right? If we can get like more industry participation, I think that would be great instead of using the EF money. Because the way I think about EF money is like, I mean, let's be honest, like it did come from a pre-mine, so it's almost like a government in the sense that like we're spending money that was like it was just kind of like printed right in the beginning. So I think it's important for us to kind of think about how to be sustainable in the long term. So I think like for these educational initiatives, my goal personally, is to have at least half of the funding for these educational things come from like external organizations and not always be relying on the EF. And then like we thought about a lot of these things, like we can get some from industry, academia is kind of interested, funds, they have a lot of money. And then we actually even identified some of these potential organizations that are really heavily into ZK. And yeah, like that's pretty much it. And I don't know if this was interesting or not, but that's kind of like what I'm working on. Like if people always wonder like what I work on, well, there you go. So any questions or maybe, and then if not, then I'll just hand it over to One Stop here. Oh, cool. Great. Thank you. Okay. Oh, you have the. Oh, you can use the hand mic.
Please.
Are you gonna mirror it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do this, or if that
Yeah.
works for you. Good.
Yeah, great. Hello. Mic works?
Mike, do you want the lapel or do you want that?
Yeah, I want it.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
Hand on that.
Hello. Thank you for having me. This ETH Vancouver meetup. I am Wansop and from South Korea. Yeah, my topic is a little bit might be a little bit off topic, but it's something like about what we can do by ourselves, more as a community-driven way. But before I start about my presentation, I would love to express my idea about why ZK education matters first. First of all, the reason is because of the cypherpunk mission. So I always try to define the cypherpunk mission as we are actually living in a cypherpunk dystopia, that what our data and what our communications can be actually supervised by people. And the only way, not the only way, the tool for the cypherpunks are to protect ourselves is about cryptography. So, and recently we are having a significant advancement and improvement in recent modern cryptography. So this is actually enabling so many opportunities and possibilities. For example, the basic cypherpunk mission starts like end-to-end encryption, like signal message, but actually we're gonna be able to run some program on top of end-to-end encrypted signal message, which means that for right now, when you send some message via some Instagram direct message, then how can we like protect users from harmful messages? For right now, maybe Instagram needs to run their own algorithm on top of the messages, which means that they can access to the message data. But recent modern cryptography is actually showing some possibilities that we can run some program on top of the encrypted data. So still the data, the message is encrypted, but actually we can know that, oh, there's no any harmful message inside of the encrypted data. So this is something what the zero knowledge and the fully homomorphic encryption or modern cryptography is enabling. So this is the reason why we really need to invest more into the modern cryptography, because actually we can get closer to the cypherpunk utopia with these new technologies. Yeah, and the reason why education matters is because of, in my personal opinion, is because of the AI. So it's very obvious that we are getting closer to AGI, and I am myself is being more relying on the AI for my daily lives. I use ChatGPT and Claude, and people is already losing their motivations about creating some art by themselves, because actually AI generates the video and generates picture on behalf of you, and then actually AI is working instead of us. So we lose the motivation to work, and AI actually do everything on behalf of you. So the problem is that if you lose the motivation to learn, then actually it's likely we lose the resilience once one very big party monopolize everything. So this is very important that we spread the knowledges and increasing and enhancing the resilience. This is the main reason why I think that education matters so much. And today my presentation is about actually how can we make it in a more sustainable way, not only like depending on the ETH Foundation, because it's my kind of a personal project. So PPFF stands for Public Fund for Korea, because I'm from Korea. So last year I decided to start a small funding project. So I deposited 2 ETH into a multi-sig wallet and raised 2 more ETHs from people. And through this fund, what I did is I supported 3 developers from my local community in Korea by funding their travel to participate in global hackathons. And this opportunity actually allowed them to learn and experience global development. And then the only condition for this sponsorship is that if they win any prizes, they must put them back into the public funding pool. So it's like I sponsor students to go to hackathon, and if they get some prize, then they need to fund back. Let's start from the motivations. So I think we are living in a very competitive society. So many people believe that to improve our lives, we need to really take some victories away from others. And actually, it leads to some zero-sum game. Competence actually can often go to the zero-sum game. And as a result, numerous individuals become obsessed with their own growth, continually striving not to fall behind. And this obsession actually escalates the anxiety and contributes to high suicide rates. So very surprising some statistics in Korea is about the birth rate and the suicide rate. The birth rate in Korea, actually Korea is very kind of a competitive society because actually we don't have that many options. So the birth rate is very low, is around like 0.7, and suicide rate is like twice of the OECD average, because because we don't have that many options. And I actually try to think about how to convert this zero-sum game to some positive sum game. And what I really want to say is that there exists a very good example of positive sum games. The first one is about the open source, and the second is about the civic hacking community. So when we talk about the open source community thing, I define open source contributions as kind of a voluntary work for the public good. So we voluntarily work and actually share this with people. So it's something like a different with the competition, because actually we generate and we produce some very meaningful means of production, and actually we are sharing that with people. So it starts from giving something from your end to others. So it's like I always think like, okay, doing some open source is like giving some love to society. And very good examples are the Linux, and thankfully we have Ethereum and Bitcoin because of this open source culture. And civic hacking is also a very fascinating movement, which is a combination of open source and public good. So some people actually believe that public goods lacks some sufficient incentives to motivate people compared to like private VC-backed company or startup models, which maximizes some financial incentives. But despite of these kind of some skeptical views, we have a very good example in the world that the Audrey Tang from Taiwan, the leader of the Gulf Zero, actually showed how civic hacking can really change the society. So she actually finally became the minister of the digital department of the Taiwan. Actually, not now, but actually she changed it a lot. So this kind of some civic hacking is also can make a huge some impact in the society. And actually, I believe that this kind of civic hacking movement contributes to the society by making public systems better, by providing some safety net, allowing people to have some freedom to fail. So I'd love to introduce my motivation why I started these public funds, Punks Public Funds for Korea. That in Korea we have a very large amount of some public budget which is allocated for R&D, but actually because of some corruptions and exploitations, actually it doesn't work well. So rather than fixing this system, I thought about, okay, how about try to do some very decentralized way, like building something from scratch and doing something as a public good. For example, we can raise funds from the companies for their social, the CSR thing, the companies, the social responsibility thing, and then we can actually run some retroactive PGF thing to distribute fund for actually just to solve the current existing problems. But actually this is too big. So I just thought about, okay, what is the thing that actually we can start very small? That is about like sponsoring the hackathons. Because actually I learned this thing from the Malaysia community. One of my friends, Sam, from the ETH community, actually he told me that it is very common for Malaysian students that to learn from their journey. So he told that Malaysian students actually go abroad and travel and learn from there. And also one of my friend Chi, actually I saw that Chi is leading the ETH community, and I mean participating in global hackathons all around the world. So actually they won numerous prizes, and actually they used the fund for their subsequent following hackathons to participate in. And actually I could see how they making progress, and it was very impressive to me. So the result is something like this. I sponsored 3 students, and we participate in ETH Tokyo. And actually, not only from the Korea, but also from the Taiwan community. I mean, Taiwan community forked this kind of efforts. So they started their own initiative about sponsoring students first, and actually, if they get the win, if they win the prize, and putting that back into the public fund back again. So this is something what I wanted to introduce about. Okay, there are so many things that to thrive the positive sum game culture, which can start from giving first. And then we're gonna find some sustainable model, like about how to make a positive sum game, like giving first and donating first, and then they will be the donor, and after they win some prizes or win some hackathons. So this is something I really wanted to share about how to thrive it in a more decentralized way, in a more sustainable way. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do you have any question?
Actually, I do have a question. Thank
Yes.
you very much for the presentation. You said something really interesting about agentic influence on humans. And yeah, I think it's going on a tangent, which is kind of exponential. Me as a developer, I'm getting more comfortable in using ChatGPT, you know, and he's writing the code, and we don't see that there's efficiency there. But yeah, but back to the subject of knowledge. I mean, super interesting because at one point we would want to have this zero knowledge fidelity without having any middlemen or anybody, any human in the middle or any other message. So really, yeah, it's really interesting. I'm looking to hear more from you. And if you have that link, if you can show it again, I'd love to.
The ppff.kr. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Sweet. All right. Round of applause here, everybody. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Sweet. All right. Well, if that's it. Well, thanks everybody for coming out. We can hang out here for a bit, and thanks everybody who joined in online, and we'll see you all next week. Okay. Thanks. See you. Bye bye.